School's out, blame Corona, but I still got some science I could show ya. No class, no school, that's cool. Throw the class on the YouTube. Even if they shut the school down, I'll get that knowledge anyway somehow. Real scholars won't stop for Corona. Tune in for that science takeover.
Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to Mrs. Finney's science class. Shout out to the HB Warriors, to all of our subscribers, and to all of our visitors from my house to your house. Let's learn science. Today, we are still in lesson 10, but we're now in section 2. Let's take a look. What is section 2 all about? So in section 2, the topic reads, experiments to determine genetic and environmental influence. Learning objective. I can explain the meaning of dependent variables, independent variables, and controlled variables in an experiment. Let's take a look at this section. At the top, it reads, you might notice that one of the plants in your house is growing sideways. Does the plant have genes to grow sideways, or is it being influenced by the environment to grow sideways? Essentially, the only way to determine whether a particular trait is determined more strongly by its genes or the environment is by conducting a carefully designed experiment. I love experiments. Figure 10.2 shows the results of an experiment done to test how light affects plant growth. The 3 plants were grown in different light conditions: normal light, no light, or light coming from one direction. The light conditions are the independent variable of this experiment, or the variable that is being changed or tested in the experiment. The factor that changes is measured in an experiment is the dependent variable. In this case, it is how the plant grew. Okay, so how the plant grows is dependent on the independent variable, which is the condition for the light. All right, whether it's normal light, no light, or light coming from one direction. To make sure that the differences in growth of the plant was due to only differences in the light, the scientists had to keep everything else the same. The controlled variables are the factors that are held constant in an experiment. In this experiment, some of the controlled variables were using genetically identical plants, growing the plants in the same soil, and watering them with the same amount and kind of water. All right, I want to take a look here. Check this out. All right, so this is an image of directional light, no light, and normal light. Directional light, no light, and normal light. Okay? So the plant grown in normal light thrived. The plant grown in the dark turned yellow and died. The plant grown in directional light was bent. Okay, so I want you to take a look back here. Normal light, no light, directional light. Okay, made a difference. From repeating this experiment many times and obtaining the same results, scientists could conclude that the differences in the growth of these plants was due to the environmental influence of different kinds of light. This consistency through many repetitions of the experiment leads to valid and reliable evidence. To investigate which human traits are influenced by the environment, scientists need to find a way to compare 2 people with the exact same genes. To do this, scientists study identical twins, and we watched a video about that. Identical twins have the exact same alleles of genes, which allows the role of genes to be a controlled variable. All right? And the example shown here, These two identical twins were athletes. One trained as a weightlifter, the other trained as a runner. The different kind of training was the independent variable. The dependent variable is the differences in their body shape and muscle development. By keeping the genes constant, because they're twins, you can conclude that the differences in the environmental factor of training is what caused these men to develop differently. All right? Okay, so one did one type of activity and the other did another type of activity, and they ended up with different muscle development. All right? To investigate the effect of genes on a trait, environmental factors must be held constant. For example, scientists have been studying the role of genes in obesity using mice as a model organism. In these experiments, the controlled variables were environmental factors. All of the mice had access to the same environmental factors, like the kind and amount of food and exercise they received. The independent variable being tested was the different alleles of a gene. To determine the results, weight gain, the dependent variable, was measured. The scientists discovered an allele of a single gene that increased the probability that a mouse would become obese. Mice with this allele were more likely to gain weight than their siblings with different alleles. By controlling for factors in the environment, the scientists could conclude that specific alleles of this gene strongly influence the expression of the obesity trait. All right, so I'm going to take a look. Looks like they're looking right at us too, right? All right, so I want to show you a video that shows you some examples about independent variables and dependent variables. Let's check that out.
Independent variable and dependent variable are important terms related to controlled experiments. Remember, a controlled experiment is a scientific test in which all conditions are kept constant except for the variable you're testing. The independent variable is the thing you're testing in an experiment. It's often abbreviated as IV and sometimes called the manipulated variable because you change or manipulate this variable. In an experiment, the dependent variable is the thing you're observing and measuring, the thing you're anticipating may be affected as a result of exposure to the independent variable. It's often abbreviated as DV and sometimes called the responding variable because it responds to the change that you make. Let's look at a few examples. Suppose your hypothesis is that if students study 15 minutes a night, then they will have higher test grades than those who don't study at all. What's being changed or manipulated? It's whether or not the students study for 15 minutes. And what's going to be observed or measured in this experiment? What do you think might be different as a result of this increased study time? You're expecting test grades will be affected. In this experiment, the independent variable is the study time. And the dependent variable, the thing you're measuring or going to observe, is the test grades. Here's another example. See if you can figure it out. This time, the hypothesis is that if people who have headaches take aspirin, then they will get relief faster than those who don't take aspirin for headaches. So, what's the thing that's different in this case? The thing that's different, the independent variable, is whether or not somebody is taking an aspirin. Then, what are you going to measure? You're measuring how long it takes for their headache to go away. That's the dependent variable. Here's a final example to help you understand these terms. You predict that if a brand name light bulb is left on continuously, then it will burn longer than a bargain brand light bulb used in the same manner. In this case, what is the independent variable? It's the brand name light bulb. What are you measuring? You're measuring how many hours the light bulbs work before burning out, which is the dependent variable. The independent variable is the brand name light bulb, and the dependent variable is the amount of time the light bulbs work before burning out. So, to review, the independent variable is the thing that you're testing. Sometimes this is referred to as the cause in an experiment. It is also the if part of your hypothesis. The dependent variable, the thing you're measuring, is the effect. It is also the then part of your hypothesis.
All right, so now that we have some examples to reference when we're talking about independent variables and dependent variables and control variables, let's now answer some questions. Check for understanding. It says drag the terms to their appropriate locations. Let's look at this example. All right. In one experiment, scientists tested how light affects plant growth to understand whether plant growth is influenced by, what do you think needs to go here? Genes? Okay. The light conditions are the do you want to say dependent or independent variable? All right, let's try it. Let's try independent. We'll see. Come on over. Don't be shy, you should come on over. How the plant grew is the, we only have one left, dependent variable, and factors held constant, same soil and amount of water, are the controlled variables. All right, let's see if this is correct. How you feel about this selection here? Do you think we should swap out anything? All right, let's see. We have one out. We want to move this one, trade it obviously with the environment. Oh, here we go. See if we can pull that down. All right, let's see. All right, we have it. Here's our sentence. In one experiment, scientists tested how light affects plant growth to understand whether plant growth is influenced by the environment. The light conditions are the independent variable. How the plant grew is the dependent variable. And factors held constant, same soil and amount of water, are the controlled variables. Nice work. All right, let's check at the bottom. Make sure you go to Lesson 10, Section 2. First question here we need to knock out as a team. How can you determine if a trait is influenced by both genes and the environment? Take the floor. What do you think? Oh, yeah? Oh, well, okay then. Let's take a look here. Conduct an experiment. We love experiments. What are the 3 kinds of variables used in designing an experiment? List and define each one. We know we have, name all 3, please. And. Nice word. All right, so we have independent variable. Okay, the variable that is being changed or tested in the experiment. Dependent variable, the factor that changes and is measured in an experiment. Controlled variable, a factor that is held constant in an experiment. All right, here we go. Suppose an experiment shows that plants grown in the light thrive, plants without light die, and plants near a light source bend to it. What kind of variable is the amount of light? Independent, dependent, or controlled? You let me know. What do you think will pop up here? Let's see. Answer, please. Independent variable. Shout out to you. Who? You. Let's go to number 4. What kind of variable is the plant's final condition? You know this? Why am I even asking this question? It's like, you're so smart. Right, okay. Let's just show the answer. Dependent variable? Right, you're right. Well, what kind of variable is the amount of soil and water? You know that one too? Well, go. Just click the button, Mrs. Finney. Okay, all right, got it. Controlled variable. Nice. N-I-C-E-U-R. Nice. What? Nice. N-I-C-E-U-R. Nice. Say what? Nice. All right, here we go. To investigate the role of the environment on human traits, what variable must be controlled? How is it possible to control this factor? Genes. You can compare identical twins. Okay, make sure you have that one down for number 6. 7, to investigate the role of genes in a trait, what variable must be controlled, and how is it possible to control this factor? Let's take a look. The environment. In laboratory conditions, scientists can make sure subjects get the same food, exercise, and other environmental factors. All right. Number 8, in the grasses shown here, circle 2 grass pots that differ due to genetics. Then, box 2 grass pots that differ due to the environment. All right, let's take a look. Grass 1, switchgrass, normal soil nutrients. Grass 2, nutsedge grass, normal soil nutrients. All right, here we go. Grass 1, switchgrass, deficient soil nutrients. And grass 2, nutsedge grass, deficient soil nutrients. Hopefully you can see the differences here. If I could shrink this down just a snag. Notice anything? Switchgrass? All right, let's see what the answer looks like. Circle 2 grass pots that differ due to genetics. This is crazy looking image. Then box 2 grass pots that differ due to the environment. All right, these are different based off of the environment because they have a different amount of soil or different type of soil. Normal soil nutrients compared to deficient soil nutrients, and same here. So we're boxing them because of their environment, but we're circling these because they differ because of their genes. Okay? Strange illustration, but you get the point. All right, let's wrap up here. All righty. So our essential question, does the plant have genes to grow sideways, or is it being influenced by the environment to grow sideways? What would you say to that? I want you to give your very calm and educated response. What do you say? I think you know your stuff. All right? The only way to determine whether a particular trait is determined more strongly by its genes or the environment is by conducting a carefully designed experiment. So does the plant have genes to grow sideways, or is it being influenced by the environment to grow sideways? You would say the environment. All right, here we go. Let's take a look at our outro. It's been fun. It's been real. We break it down and pick up science skills. Give yourself 2 claps just for tuning in. Come back, meet tomorrow, we can learn again. Oh, it's been fun. It's been real. We break it down and pick up science skills. Give yourself 2 claps just for tuning in. Come back, meet tomorrow, we can learn again. Have an awesome rest of your day. I will see you tomorrow. Peace.